tonight was electric.
Max has never worked in this town again.
I don't want to be a ballet, Gary. I want to get in the ring. Listen, Lucci, I'm tapping out.
I don't think you have what it takes to square up against Del Nacho Bisto.
Is that right, short stack?
It is. This could be huge. Dare I say, a big deal.
Well, Josh Stifter, Scarlet Moreno, thank you so much for joining us. Little Lucha and the Big Deal streaming on GeekTyrant.com. This is a story about Lucha, about American pro wrestling, about believing in yourself. Critically acclaimed, just wrapped up the festival circuit, now streaming to praise on GeekTyrant.com. Normally, when somebody makes a film about a particular topic, especially one that is still kind of niche like pro wrestling, there usually is a bit of a backstory. So did you two grow up as wrestling fans? And when you started working together, was it always in the back of your mind of like, man, I'd really like to make some type of wrestling project?
I feel like I'm a millennial, so I think in our like childhood, 90s, early 2000s era, you know, wrestling was like exploding into the popular culture, you know, mainstream. And so we had huge characters like Hulk, like Macho Man Randy Savage, like these people that were larger than life. And I was just this like weird little kid who like loved art. And like, you know, I was very young, but I knew there was something about it. The costumes, the theatrics, like that pulled me in since, you know, even I was that little. And so really as an artist later in life, like I've always been drawn to that era of wrestling in that world. And I'm very much, you know, I love humans and I love digging into like what makes people tick and what makes people pursue things like pro wrestling. And so I've always been interested in it. Yeah, so I would say I definitely, and any kind of wrestling content that I have seen, I like usually really love. So yeah, it's always kind of been on the brain.
I grew up during, you know, Attitude Era, was a big fan of Mick Foley and the entire, you know, crazy time. But, you know, sort of like a lot of people, high school and playing in bands and girls and all of that stuff got in the way of the good stuff like wrestling. So I stopped. And then I wrote this script because I wanted to do a project with Scarlet and have her kind of teach me how to act. And at the time when we were on Rebel Without a Crew together, she didn't have as much experience with visual effects, editing, the technical side. I didn't have any experience with acting. And so I wrote the script as an opportunity for us to work together. And I grew up loving Lucha. I spent a lot of time in Mexico as a kid and watched actual Lucha wrestling in Mexico. And it was always just a dream of mine to play a character like that. And so when years went by, COVID hit, blah, blah, blah. And we got to the point where we were just like, if we're going to do it, we got to do it now. And it just happened to hit at the same time that I was getting back into wrestling. I started watching AEW. I started kind of breaking into the history of wrestling, buying lots of books on wrestling, like this one that I have right here. We Promised You a Great Main Event, which is all about the WWE. And I got like way into that, like from the early days. It's just like a massive overarching history. So I got way into AEW and it came at the perfect time when we were making this short. So yeah, I love wrestling. Now I have belts hanging from my wall. I watch every Wednesday and Saturday. I'm addicted. Half of my wardrobe is Tony Storm or Hangman Adam Page or all of the AEW roster.
Have you two had a chance to go to a show in the last few years?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know I have. Anytime it hits Atlanta. I was actually at the last show that they played in Atlanta, and there was a moment where Swerve Strickland went out into the concessions area, and I booked into the concessions from I had mediocre seats, but now AEW, their venues are so small. They've gone so like punk rock with everything that no seat is bad, and every seat is like just you're in it. So I booked the back and I ended up getting on TV. I got on the show, so I don't remember what the date was, but I was there when Swerve Strickland was getting kicked in the face.
I went to a match actually a few years ago in Des Moines. And the most striking thing that happened there when I was there, or that I like loved, again, like human nature and characters, was like this little girl in front of us. She must have been like 12. This like heel character came out and she stood up on her chair and like flipped a double bird.
That's amazing.
And her mom next to her was like they were all, the whole family was just like doing the same thing. And I was like, I love this. Like, this is the best.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of underground wrestling as well. So anytime like we have a series here in Atlanta called Blood and Honey that always is at this mead brewery, and so hence the honey. And it's always like a bloodbath. It's so awesome. Just people getting like nails through their ears
Oh,
and
Jesus.
yeah, like
I also
actual.
went to, sorry, go.
Yeah, no, you go.
I also went to a lucha match a few years ago here in LA. There's a great lucha scene here. And I think it was the Lucha Bros, right? I think that's what it's called, the guys that put it on. And we were like in a parking lot, just like, it was amazing. I love that part of LA too is really great. That like Mexican culture and lucha culture that's just like thriving for sure. And there was one point where we were like, oh my, like my husband grabbed my shoulders and like moved me because they were like coming into the audience. And I was like, Jesus, so that's always really fun to stay on your toes in like a parking lot match.
Hey, that's fun. Those smaller shows are definitely fun for sure. So
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome then. So you two had wrestling on the mind. You wanted to work together. You finally had the opportunity to work together when the pandemic hit, now or never. You made the most out of the opportunity. And it's one thing to do a film about pro wrestling. It's another thing to actually play pro wrestlers. And while this is a short and not a feature per se, I'm sure there's aspirations of bigger down the road. And at the same time, you also kind of got to know how to wrestle, or at least act like you know how to wrestle. So how did you two prepare for the film from a physical standpoint?
Scarlett,
You
want to
like got jacked. You got like,
I didn't get jacked. I am just naturally jacked. No, I did. I did.
didn't you do like a crazy like protein like
I was
program?
working out. I was working out a little bit, and it was right before I'm vegan now. It was right before I went started the vegan diet. And it was actually one of the reasons I started it because I realized how good I felt when I was taking in more protein from supplement and getting more vitamins and minerals naturally, which is what I read a lot of wrestlers do, why a lot of them are actually vegan or don't take in a ton of protein from meat.
Animal.
And so, yeah. And so yeah, I did. I mean, I wouldn't say I went crazy. I wasn't like hitting the gym every day doing the like Captain America workout by any means, but I definitely was working out and studying a little bit of what was going to be happening. And Ricky Noren, who was our the guy I got in the ring with, Ricky Noren is the one who threw me around. I had no idea what I was getting into, and it was like days before. I had talked to him. He seemed like a nice enough dude, but in-ring persona versus whatever, I had no idea what was going to be happening. And then Daniel sent me like 2 days before a bunch of Ricky's matches that were like had recently happened, and they were bloodbaths, and he had basically killed himself and another man in the streets of New York in a bloodbath. And I was like, I'm going to die. This is going to be really, really bad. And luckily it was not.
Yeah.
There was some serious throwing and some, I mean, wrestling is not even the choreographed element of it as much as it is. It can be very choreographed. It can also, you can get really hurt and when the mat is a lot harder than they pretend like it, than the people who want to hate wrestling pretend like it is. It is not a trampoline. It is a hard friggin' floor.
even the crash pads that we used, like that you threw yourself on, like Josh, I give Josh so much credit because he did all his own stunts and they were real stunts. Like I threw him off of my shoulders onto a crash pad, which is like, in my heels, I was like 6 feet tall. And so he was falling from a good 5 feet onto his like body. And just, I remember it. We have a footage of me of that part. It's a close up of me and I just throw him off of my shoulders. And if you keep watching the footage, obviously we cut, but I kind of just looked at the camera like a little bit shocked and I
Yeah.
slowly turned around to make sure he was alive because he didn't make any noise and we were in a parking lot and it was dark. So I was like, I missed the crash pad. Like I just was like, so there was definitely some physical preparation, and I would say just like physical. Brave is the wrong word that I'm looking for, but you know what I mean. There was like some physical, just like, okay, this is what we're doing. Like we're in this. Let's go.
Yeah, there was a lot of prepping too, like sort of trying to understand what happens behind the scenes. So I did a lot of research, kind of like looking at promo work, like behind the scenes promo work and the reality of that, and talking to Ricky beforehand. So it's small moments, but like even just little Lucha like revving himself up while Big Deal is talking to the promoter and he's, throwing her under the bus for like being a woman basically and trying to, whatever, be a creep on her.
As one
Those
does.
moments, yeah, but there is actually a lot of that from talking to my friends who work in the community, from being behind the scenes, because I actually filmed Daniel, the producer of this movie, and I filmed, and Daniel was the announcer at a couple of underground shows or like smaller shows in Minneapolis. And I took that opportunity years ago, right before COVID, we did that. And I took the opportunity because I had just written a little Lucha script at that point to like see what people talked like behind the scenes, what the back room, the green room, whatever you want to call it, is like, and just sort of feel what the energy is. And I think that especially like the whole concept of it being at a diner afterwards, and he's still pumped up, eating full of whatever, and she's very like, that sucked, bro. I
Mhm.
That's what it felt like being behind the scenes in some of these events. So we're just kind of pulling from what we could learn.
You two also had a chance to learn under a little director by the name of Robert Rodriguez. So how did that experience help you guys, especially like when you were on El Rey Network, to now working together and kind of implementing anything you learned from there?
With Robert, especially on Rebel Without a Crew, I learned that I could do like anything. Basically, he like really drove the idea into us that like your constraints are your creative like pushes, basically whatever you're restrained by, whatever budget, whatever whatever you would call a shortcoming is actually something you can turn around and make in your favor, by getting creative and working inside those lines to basically like magnify what you do have. And so I definitely think Josh and I both, I mean, you could have called those 2 weeks like, or the 6 weeks that we were on the show, you could have called that like a film school in itself, or a very indie film, a crash course for sure. And I think I took a lot of the values that I learned on that show and put it into all of my filmmaking afterward. And especially this movie, because of the physical aspect, because of the run and gun aspect of, we had a tiny crew, you know what I mean? Like all of those things were very much reminiscent of Rebel. And so I think that it very much informed this movie and how this movie was made.
Yeah, and it was awesome working with Robert and being a part of that whole process or whatever. But the reality is like any project you work on, you take things away from it. Doesn't matter if it's small, big. So I learned a bunch on that one, and then I went and made another movie right after Rebel Without a Crew. I learned on that one. Then Scarlet made a bunch of shorts. We did all of these projects before we got to this one, and I'm working on a new movie now. Scarlet has a new short that I've had the pleasure of seeing that no one else has seen. That's what happens when you make friends with pros. You get to see things no one else does. So but we every project, it's just kind of like, okay, what do we want to try different? What do we want to try this
Yeah.
time? And Little Lucha and the Big Deal was a fun one because neither of us was Like I wasn't director of photography, which I usually am. We had a DP who was able to give us a ton of information. Dennis Kahlo came in,
Hmm.
and I was like, I learned more from him than I did on Rebel Without a Crew, honestly. Like the
Hmm.
amount I learned from him being someone like there, the amount I learned watching Scarlet when I was also acting, like I was able to learn more about myself as an actor, being able to act with someone. And so that's why I'm just like, if you're trying to learn or if you're trying to figure something out, just go do it. Like it was
Yeah.
great working with Robert, but 90% of what I learned from that was that I'm not built for reality TV more so than I learned about filmmaking. And like the short amount of time we had on Little Lucha, I learned more than I've ever learned on anything. It was just super, super awesome to learn from everyone and to be thrown under the bus to try to recite lines to a wall and realize that I'm terrible at it, or
I
all
will
of the
never
little.
forget. I thought that was there's a scene in Little Lucha and the Big Deal that Josh is referring to where we're at the diner, and so we were getting each other's close-ups. And so I'm used to, when you're on set, the camera is your scene partner at that point, basically. Because your scene partner is either behind the camera for eye line or like whatever it is, the camera needs to get the close-up. So that's like, and so we were in this tiny diner. And so there was no room for me to sit with the camera while we were getting Josh's close up. So he was doing his read like with the camera with the wall, and he killed it. I mean, you did so
Yeah,
well.
no,
Like
I know, but I was
you
struggling
did.
with my lines,
You were,
and
but you were like, I think it became this like existential battle for you where you were
oh
just
yeah,
like,
oh
I
yeah, I
have
was
to
like,
do
I'm gonna
this.
get it. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
it was just like I didn't have that issue through any of the rest of it because most all the rest of it I just was like I was just Little Lucha with Big Deal. Like I just
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
into character, it just happened. And 90% of what I was trying to do was just make Scarlet laugh or make the Big Deal laugh as
Yeah.
Lucha and like change the feel of what was happening. And then the second she was off camera, I was just like, this is fake. We're not living it. It's funny because I expect everyone to do that as director,
Yeah.
but the second I was asked to do it, I was like, you can't do this to me. So it's
Yeah.
funny how you watch like, modern blockbuster movies where it's like a dude covered in dots acting with a ball that's going to be a dragon and you're like, well, that's not
Mhm.
acting. That's easy. You just are doing whatever. And then you think about it as that person, you're like, that's a magical ability. If you can act in that situation, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, hey, you two did a great job, Little Lucha and the Big Deal, streaming on geektyrant.com. Before we let y'all go, do you have a quick minute or two for some random and rapid fire questions just to get to know you better?
Yeah.
All right. All-time favorite pro wrestler and current favorite pro wrestler.
Mick Foley, and I'm gonna make everyone so mad with this, but I can't help myself, man. Every time MJF is up there giving a promo, I'm just like in it, man. That guy is the only heel in wrestling right now, and I am obsessed with how awful he is.
For me, it's got to be Macho Man Randy Savage because of his character, his costumes, his energy. With a close second by Ric Flair, who same reason,
Yeah, Ric
costumes,
Flair,
character,
man.
energy.
That's a tough one. Ric
It's a
Flair's
tough
so
one.
good.
Yeah, he's amazing. And then my current favorite is Cody Rhodes because he's just like so cute. And honestly, Dusty Rhodes is such a cool, to me, that's such a cool like legacy. So yeah, my fave.
Other than being pro wrestlers, what would have been your alternate career paths?
Oh man, I say all the time that I should have been a plumber. I think I could do that job and like I could just have been such a killer plumber. I get the concept of it. I don't have any problem working with water. Like I could have done that job and made bank. I don't know why I didn't.
I always say, which is so, it's very funny, but I feel like I could have been a CIA agent.
You did the film festival circuit. You have more things in the pipeline. It's good. I'm sure you're a good negotiator if you say
Or
that. So,
maybe I
yeah.
am a CIA agent and I'm
Oh.
undercover.
Oh, that's why she goes to bed at 7 p.m. is because she's actually going out and fighting
Doing
crime. I don't know
undercover.
what is CIA. really do. I feel like they do a lot of desk work in reality. You know what else? I should have been a jockey. I could have been a
Mm,
good jockey, and I'm like teetering on too big, but I'm
too tall.
just small. Yeah, for real. It's like 4'8" to 5'4" is like the jockey range, and I'm
Sweet spot.
right. Yeah, and I'm like right at the top. I'd be a tall jockey, but I'd be a good jockey. I'd race like the wind.
I love that. I love that. Jockey and CIA agent.
There you go.
It's
Some
good.
great movie
Okay,
ideas.
new script, new script. I got this.
Okay, perfect.
Oh my gosh. You kind of already touched on some interesting moments when filming, but what's your most awkward moment in the filming of Little Lucha and the Big Deal?
Oh Lord, I mean I have a couple, but I can't tell the stories. I would burn some
Fair.
bridges. But I could tell. You know what's it wasn't awkward. It wasn't so much awkward as it was like a really great learning experience. Is I usually run my camera, and Dennis Kahlo was the DP on the movie. And there was a moment where I wanted to do a visual effect where I get thrown across the screen, and but I wanted to use the crash mat and have it edited out in post production. So I knew what the visual effect was. I understood it. And I was trying to explain it to Dennis, and he could not wrap his head around it. And we talk about this all the time it was like, he's like, okay, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. And then I explained it to him, and he's like, okay, now explain it to me like I'm 3 years old. And I was just like, here's how we're going to do it. We got this. We got this, Dennis. And it wasn't awkward, but it was an interesting moment.
Yeah, those are actually, I mean, I don't have a
What
specific
about
one in mind.
McRae?
Okay, but I was
McRae trying to put the microphone on.
but we can't talk about that. That feels like
Yes,
a
we can talk about.
okay. That's literally the first thing that came to mind. I'm an actor. I've been in theater, so I'm totally comfortable with like sound mics being put on me, like any sort of I'm comfortable with partial nudity. Not that that's what was happening, but I wore like a little, my costume. I was wearing like a little leotard, and the poor McRae, who is our amazing sound guy and so many other things, was just like so nervous to just like
To touch.
approach putting the mic pack on me, and I'm like, you can. It's my back. Like it's totally fine if you touch. I'm okay. Like. But he was so sweet. And then I started messing with him. I started being like not mean about it. I was just like joking about it. And I was like, how dare you? Like, just stuff like that. So
McRae was like a little brother to me growing up. So it was one of those situations where watching him get on set and try to be a pro, but then also his like sweet Minnesota boy.
yes. It was very that.
It was adorable. It was
very polite Minnesota boy trying to approach how to hide, where to hide this mic pack in a leotard. And I was like, dude,
how dare you, sir? McRae, leave her alone.
Oh my god.
So yeah.
Well, at least you're on a crew that respected boundaries and a good.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, which is great. So,
of course.
So the dynamic that we saw on the film, is that similar to y'all's dynamic in real life?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it's pretty damn close. I mean, yes, it is very much that. I would say Scarlett and I have a good balance of both sides, though. I mean, it's very much it is because it's really the same. It's two sides of the same coin of the artist. Like the whole concept of like every day you're the most excited about what you're doing, and you also are like on the cusp of quitting at any given point. And
yes, 1,000%.
that's what I wrote it as, where, and I wrote an original script that then Daniel tweaked and Scarlett tweaked, and it was three artists all kind of coming to this conclusion together of what this movie needed to be. And I mean, there are many days where I relate far more to the Big Deal than I do to Little Lucha.
And vice versa.
Yeah, and we joke about it, how we often do teeter back and forth, and when one of us is at a low, the other seems to be at a high, and it goes back and forth consistently. But
yeah,
that would probably be what the show is if we made it. It would be that dynamic of back and forth.
Yeah. We're very, I mean, Josh and I are best friends. Like we've known each other, oh my God, almost 10
10
years.
years. I
Oh my
know.
God. Oh, I literally was just like 2017 yesterday. 10 years. And we're like, we have that very much like sibling dynamic where like we joke with each other, but we're not afraid to like, push each other or be like, hey, you're kind of being like, you're repeating this pattern right now where you're just like, in a hole about this project or, and we're both artists and we both make our own films and our own worlds. So we very much know the struggle that presents. And we also know the triumphs. And so, yeah, I think like sometimes Josh will be like, super super, he's like working on his next project, he's super excited about it, and I'm like in the part of my project where I'm like, is this any good? Like, does this suck? Why did I make this? You know what I mean? And then vice versa, it's like I get to the end and he's like, actually this script is terrible or whatever. It's just like a constant back and forth of like commiserating and also pushing each other and also encouraging each other, and that's very much what Little Lucha and the Big Deal do for each other. So it was not hard to get there.
What's your best advice for anyone looking to break into the industry and get to the point where they do actually have a finished project that they are able to distribute and shop?
Don't try to break into the industry. Just go make some art and see what you like about it, see what you don't. Like right now is one of the, it is, no, not one of the, it is far and away the most challenging time to figure out what your voice is, who you are as an artist. We are consuming so much every day that finding your own thing is almost impossible. So, like, I tell this to my kids and my kids' friends every time they want to come over and use my gear and film something. I'm like, guys, don't try to make something that you've seen. Don't try to recreate something. Go have fun. Go like this process, because if you want to do this for the next 60 years of your life, like, you can't hate it already, and you will if
Yeah.
you try to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I echoing that. I think don't try to break into the industry is a great piece of advice, because the industry right now is also in turmoil. It is a time where there is no more ABCD way to get in. There's no more. And as you know, as an art form, there's not really ever like a straight path. But now, especially, it is like you could make a TikTok and then get paid millions of dollars to make a blockbuster. Like, really, truly, that could happen. And it's crazy, but that's the truth. So I guess what I'm saying is like, nothing is too precious. Just like do everything, try it, make it, put it out there, like submit, submit, submit. But if you don't get into a festival, make your own festival. That's literally what it is like right now in the industry. It's like build your own path.
Amazing. Great advice. And one more high note for anybody that hasn't already been convinced, why should people check out Little Lucha and the Big Deal?
It is truly independent filmmaking, and you just, as much as everyone wants to talk about indie film, it doesn't exist very often anymore. It's really hard to actually create anything on your own. But Scarlett and I were able to like actually find the funds through friends and family and create our own path to make this thing. So if you want to see what it looks like when a couple of filmmakers go and just make something, this is it right here.
Yeah, agreed. And also, it's a story about underdogs, and like, who doesn't need that right now, And it's really truly a story with like heart, and it is about good people trying to like make their dreams come true. And sometimes I think we just need films that like feel good, and this film does. So
Hopecore. I've been hearing this term hopecore a lot.
yes, it is such a hopecore film for sure.
And if you want to see a short man get his ass kicked a couple times, whoo, there you go.
Especially by a tall lady.
Hey, that's great selling points right there. Little Lucha and the Big Deal streaming on geektyrant.com. Scarlett, Josh, thank you so much for your time. Before I let you go, where can fans find you online, and where can we find you next?
I'm on Instagram at Scarlettini, 1T, 2Ns, INNI.
Follow me. I'm at Flush Studios on Instagram. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Flush Studios. Flush Studios is my company. If you want to, my new feature film is just kind of wrapping up. It's called Get That Dick. It's about a private detective. And the poster just dropped today. I just posted it on Instagram, and the trailer should be coming out soon, and the movie is hitting festivals very soon. It's been submitted. Well, we'll see. Maybe it won't. Who knows? But
It
I'm trying.
will.
It
Coming to
will.
a festival near you, baby.